Welcome into the Wiltfong Whip Around with Steve Wiltfong. We are live, and today is Thursday, October 9th. I am your host, Josh Newberg, and we are on the verge of Week 7. Lots of recruiting news to talk about today. I'm excited about the show. Big games on the slate, which means we are in for some big recruiting weekends as well. On this show, we are going to go out west. We're going to talk USC and Oregon. We're going to get intel on Tennessee and Texas A&M five-star weekends. Also, Auburn and Mizzou. So before we get into it, you guys got to do me a favor real quick and just hit that subscribe button. We are almost to 100K. You guys can help us get there. Also, join Rivals today. Get 1 full year access to The Athletic, plus all the On3 national and fan site content as well. Put the link in the description of this video. All right, time to bring in national analyst Steve Wiltfong, and we're going to go straight out west. We're going to start with Oregon. The Ducks are looking to land yet another top 5 class. They're going to have to do it with some flips, and they got a couple big ones on campus, 2 of them in for official visits this weekend. Linebacker Braylon Hodge, I feel like we just talked about him at Michigan last weekend, and then wide receiver Milan Paris, fresh off a decommit from Iowa State, and his recruitment is hot.
These are 2 prospects that Oregon has a terrific chance with at this point in the fall. Oregon already has the number 4 ranked class in the country, looking to stay in the top 5. These are 2 big recruitments for Oregon at this point in the process. Hodge has really seen his recruitment take off, a Michigan State commit, coming off a fantastic trip to Michigan. And he'll actually see Michigan play again later this fall when he returns to East Lansing to see the Spartans play against Michigan. But Oregon is an offer that he was very excited about. The way Dan Lanning, Tosh Lupoy, and this staff, their history of developing players, the level that they're playing at, this is one where I think Oregon can make a big move this weekend. And then Paris out of Ohio. That's where Oregon's receivers coach is from, Ross Douglas. They're both from the Akron area. They've really hit it off, know a lot of the same people. Certainly Oregon's offense is exciting. And the Ducks are looking to add another wide receiver to Messiah Hampton and Jalen Lott, 2 dynamic playmakers. Paris is that 6'3", 6'4" type that can really stretch the field with his 4.4 speed. So Oregon looking to make a big push for these guys. They're going to bring back a lot of their commits this weekend because Indiana's in town, Josh. And anytime the Hoosiers are in town, it is a humongous game as of last year. Indiana ranked number 7 nationally. Oregon number 4. Yeah. Indiana top 5 on offense and defense. Oregon, that massive offensive line, top 10 offense, coming off a big win in Happy Valley 2 weekends ago, spoiling the whiteout, spoiling it so much that Penn State then went out to UCLA and couldn't get over the loss and lost again. So excited for this game. One of the best young coaches in college football. And then Kurt Cignetti, not yet a household name, but one of the best older coaches in college football, bringing an Indiana team in there looking to achieve the college football playoff for a second straight year, while Oregon looks to make a run at a second straight Big Ten championship and then obviously hopefully a national championship.
Yes, the Indiana Hoosiers, also well known as the box office boys as of last season at least. So it's going to be a fun one. We got to talk. Okay, we're going to talk some 2027 names because there's some big elite prospects on campus. But first, Oregon 5-star recruit is headed to Auburn this weekend. Anthony Tank Jones, the edge, who's from the state of Alabama, has not visited Auburn in some time, but this weekend he'll be out on the plains. Is this worth monitoring for Oregon fans?
Well, Tank Jones has obviously kept the doors slightly cracked for some of these other programs that were finalists the first time around. He's been to Miami twice this fall, Josh. He's been to Texas A&M. Now he's going to Auburn. Auburn has not stopped recruiting him hard since he committed to Oregon. But talking to his dad this week, I still believe it's going to be extremely hard to flip Tank Jones from Oregon. He's already been to 1 Oregon game this year. They're looking to get back. He's got his high school football playoffs around the corner. We'll see what happens inside Jordan-Hare Stadium this weekend as Auburn tries to get a big win against Georgia. But I still think Oregon is going to be tough to beat based on conversations with the family. They look to get out to Autzen one more time and then obviously sign in December and enroll early.
Yeah, I honestly think the fact that he's taking visits to multiple schools almost washes out. Like if he took 2 trips to Miami and that was it, I'd be more concerned. The fact that, you kind of forget what you did the week before when you take a whole bunch of these. So We'll continue to see what happens, but the Ducks knew that, you know, when you recruit 5-star, this is what you're in for. So let's talk about some of these elite 2027s that'll be out in Eugene this weekend.
Yeah, Dante Wright's the big one. Long Beach Poly cornerback, currently committed to Georgia, but he's already been to Oregon. The Ducks offered nearly 2 years ago. Coach Wadud, he was there in the spring. And his father loves the Oregon Ducks too. He's very excited to check out his first game day inside Autzen Stadium. And again, although he's committed to Georgia, I think Oregon is a program that you're really going to have to watch for the top 100 recruit. And then Oregon gets the number one player in the state, defensive back Josiah Molden, back again this weekend. They're obviously one of the front runners for him as well.
All right, Steve. This is a prediction game. There's a few of these games on the this docket that we have to predict. I know you're kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place here, but you got to give me a prediction for Oregon versus Indiana.
Yeah, I think this game will resemble the Indiana-Iowa game that we saw a couple weekends ago. I'll go with the Ducks in this game, 25-22.
Okay. I'm going to go Ducks 25-35. I think it's a 10-point win at home for Oregon. All right, Oregon fans, you guys talk to us. What is your
score first?
I should have gone first.
No, I said who puts the losing score first?
Oh, well, you had said it, so it was like in my head. All right, Oregon fans, put your score in the comment section below. Let's talk a little Auburn. This weekend, I'd circled this weekend as a big visit opportunity for the Tigers with Georgia coming to town, and that is exactly what Hugh Freeze and his staff have lined up. A couple flip targets on campus we got to talk about, including Anthony Tank Jones, Shadarius Tootle, and Lasiah Jackson. Which one of these three intrigues you the most?
Well, I think Lasiah Jackson is someone that Auburn's been on for a long time, has already gotten him to campus this season. And I think early in the year, he was very excited about the trajectory of this Auburn program. And if the Tigers can go out there and beat the Bulldogs on Saturday night and show that this is a football team that is really on the verge of competing, I think that could really resonate with Lasiah L.A. Jackson and his family. He's committed to Stanford because they love the academic opportunities in Palo Alto and the success rate that their football players have after their time at Stanford. But Auburn is that program near home that has given him a lot to think about. He was at Florida State last weekend, but I still view Auburn as the biggest challenger to Stanford here for the top 100 recruit. Shadarius Tootle, 4-star linebacker committed to Georgia. He's obviously at one point been committed to Auburn. The Tigers looking to bring that full circle coming into the weekend. There's been some growing confidence around the Plains, but obviously a chance to beat Georgia, to knock off the Bulldogs in front of Shadarius Tootle, remind him why he originally committed to Auburn. We'll see what happens there. Anthony Tank Jones, you shoot your shot. Number one player in the state, committed to Oregon. At the end of the first process, Auburn wasn't even in the top 4, but there were times early on where they looked like they were in the top 2 or 3 for Tank Jones. His coaching staff has not stopped recruiting him. He's excited to get back to Jordan-Hare Stadium. This visit was long planned, and so they'll shoot their shot this weekend. Again, I think it'll be tough to flip them from Oregon. Miami has gotten him in twice, A&M once. Now it's Auburn. He's been to Oregon once this season as well. Looking forward to getting back to Oregon. Dan Lanning recently came to see him. Daily dialogue with Dan Lanning and the Oregon coaching staff. So they're certainly not dropping the ball on this one. It'll be up to Auburn to just beat them, surpass them, and a big opportunity on the field on Saturday and then go from there.
Yeah. I thought you'd say Shadarius Tootle. I mean, he flipped from Auburn to Georgia in June, but he's been back to Auburn twice. Now he's going to be back and sitting on the Auburn sidelines watching the team he's committed to. It just seems a little odd, this recruitment.
No, for sure. I'm not sleeping on Auburn here. Obviously, Georgia, their track record with linebackers, Glenn Schumann, Kirby Smart, the program, they got a lot going for him, but he has loved Auburn before, and they want to bring it back again.
All right. Who else is out on the Plains that you are keeping an eye on?
Well, Jeff Lee reporting that Corey Wells and Chris Wells will be back from Petal on campus. And obviously the Rivals prediction machine favors the Tigers for both brothers. And so another opportunity for them to continue their push as well.
All right, Auburn fans. I thought Corey Wells was going to flip 2 weeks ago. Do you guys think he's going to flip, or is anyone going to flip their commitments to Auburn? I think it could happen with an Auburn win. Steve, we're not predicting this game because I didn't think either of us would predict Georgia. Am I right here? Or I didn't think either of us would predict Auburn.
Well, look,
I thought we would both predict Georgia.
Auburn was a handful for Georgia last year in their style of play. They match up with the Bulldogs, so we'll see what happens this weekend. Certainly, I'm going to take Georgia. I'm not predicting an upset here this weekend. I don't really go out on too many limbs in the prediction game, but Auburn has a football team. They're coming off 2 losses, ready and hungry for a win. Georgia also coming off a loss, but Auburn, I think they feel like they match up here and have the chance to get a win on Saturday night.
Yeah, it would shock me. I just have not seen that Auburn offense click just yet. It's going to happen at some point. Maybe it's this weekend, but until then, I'm taking Georgia. Auburn fans, who's flipping this weekend and what's your score prediction? Put it in the comment section below. Let's talk some Texas A&M because, Steve, we have another SEC night game at Kyle Field, which means another 5-star visit weekend as well, because we got the 5th-ranked Aggies taking on the Florida Gators, and one of the more intriguing names this weekend on campus is going to be 4-star UF commitment. That's right, edge KJ Ford is visiting the Aggies this weekend, so he's going to be on the other sideline watching the team he's committed to. Where does this recruitment stand right now?
Well, he was at Texas A&M a couple weekends ago for the Aggies' victory over Auburn as well. I think if we're talking flip talk in the very early infancy stages. Now, Texas A&M was one of his favorite programs early in the process, but Florida and Alabama emerged in the spring into the summer, and he ultimately picked the Gators over the Crimson Tide. Now, Coach Tony Girardi at Texas A&M has kept the relationship alive with Ford's father in that camp, but we have not seen Texas A&M hit the gas again here with Mike Elko and company. We'll see if they turn it up this weekend. As of right now, I just view it as him coming to see Florida play. He's getting some contingency options in place here. If things don't go right at Florida, the Gators are coming off a big win last weekend against Texas, but they got to keep it rolling to keep this coaching staff in place. If not, maybe Texas A&M rises back up here, but I think that's up to the Aggies. We'll see where the coaching staff stands as the season continues.
More developments could come with KJ Ford after this game. We'll be talking about it next week. Now, there's some impressive 2027s on campus. Number 1 corner John Meredith is going to be there. So is 5-star edge DJ Jacobs. Just an absolute loaded list. Who is A&M in good shape with that'll be on campus this weekend, Steve?
Yeah, when you look at the Rivals industry top 50 recruits, I feel like nearly all of them have visited Texas A&M over the course of the season this year. 5-star cornerback John Meredith is expected back this weekend, and I think Texas A&M is setting the tone early in that process. He's coming off a great trip to Alabama, has some other schools he's high on, was also at Penn State for the whiteout. But right now, I like where Texas A&M stands for John Meredith. David DJ Jacobs is the top pass rusher on the board. He is really flying up the charts for college programs behind the scenes. Georgia, where he's a legacy recruit, in Miami, where he's already visited multiple times, including twice this season. I would put them in the best shape, but the Aggies looking to make a move this weekend. They've been recruiting him for a while. Excited to get him on campus. Some other names expected this weekend: the number 2 running back in the country, Tyson Robinson, the number 5 receiver in the land, Dakota Garant, and Olu Olubabola is an offensive lineman from New Jersey that's already been to Texas A&M. I think the Aggies are one of the front runners for him as well.
All right. Now, when it comes to predicting this game, I mean, there's some recruiting ties here because DJ Lagway, I mean, yes, he was all Gator almost the entire time, but at the very end, there's only one team that had his ear, and that was when Mike Elko arrived. He got a quick meeting with DJ Lagway. You know, there was some sort of relationship there. Obviously, it didn't happen, but the ties are there. So when it comes to predicting this game, I think we're both going the Aggies, but the Gators, they played really well against Texas. They have some of the best young wide receiver talent in the country with Vernell Brown and Dallas Wilson. But do you think the Gators can get a road win at night at Kyle Field?
Well, they're talented enough to, but I just love the way that the Aggies are playing on both ball. You mentioned Florida's young receivers. Well, Texas A&M's got some elder statesmen
right.
receivers that have been tough to match up with, that have made a lot of plays this year already. Confidence is growing. It's at night at Texas A&M. I like the Aggies to get another win and continue their push towards what could ultimately be a historic season for Mike Elko and company. One game away from the SEC title game last year. Certainly one of the contenders to appear in the SEC title game this year and beyond. Another opportunity on Saturday night against Florida. I think Texas A&M gets it done, but this is a Florida program where everybody's counting them out, ruling them out. Got a big win last week, and can they do it again this weekend? They have the talent to do it. Texas A&M and USC were both in the picture at the end of the DJ Lagway sweepstakes, with him staying locked in with Florida. But that was one of the first modern NIL recruiting battles where the figures being thrown around behind the scenes were excitingly high. And there was a threshold that I thought if one of the schools got to, they could have flipped him, but they didn't get there. And he's a Gator, and he's coming back to his home state this weekend to play against the Aggies.
Let's head back out west and talk USC recruiting, because the Trojans, they got the number one class in the 2026 cycle, and they're looking to back it in 2027 as well. A win against Michigan this weekend could help, because five-star edge Zion Forstall's on campus, number 5 corner Duve Williams, among others. Steve, who are you watching this weekend out west at USC?
Well, certainly it starts with Zion Forstall, the number 2 player in the country, 5-star pass rusher that Coach Henderson and the Trojans have been on as hard as anybody in the country, regardless of graduation year. And USC is definitely one of the contenders. He's a Louisiana native. Can they go back into the Bayou and land him like they did Jakeem Stewart a cycle ago? I say yes. USC battling LSU, battling Texas A&M where he was last week, and this is a return trip. The Trojans are doing very well early in this process. Another chance to continue growing that relationship and show Zion Forstall and his family we're developing at a high level on the college level, because Eric Henderson's resume on the NFL level is second to none, and that USC is a program ready to compete for the Big Ten championship. So I like where they stand early. They're one of the favorites. Safety, the number 1 safety in the country, Honor Falave Johnson, also visiting USC again this weekend. Been a lot of buzz around Oregon. We'll see if USC can flip the script. They're certainly going to try. A lot of talented defensive backs this weekend. You talked about Duve Williams. I think this is his 3rd game inside the Coliseum this season. My prediction is on USC. Now, he's been to Nebraska and Texas A&M this season, but USC's got some competition. But I like the Trojans. Aaron Washington, Jalen Hill, Danny Lang, Michael Davis. Those are 4 others that USC's in good position for. Can USC go to Chicago and have another big recruiting win? They beat out Notre Dame and Michigan for 4-star defensive lineman Braden Jones in 2026. Now they're after his teammate in 2027, the number 5 linebacker in the country, Roman Igwebuike. He's visiting this weekend. USC certainly got to be a program to watch there. Osani Gales is an elite wide receiver. Zion Forstall's teammate, visiting from IMG Academy. They lead on the Rivals prediction machine for Quentin Hale. So USC, they got the number 1 class in the country in 2026. Guys like Mark Bowman, Kini Pepe, they're going to be back this weekend. USC wants to make another run at a top 5 class, if not number 1 in 2027. This weekend could be pivotal in those efforts with guys like Zion Forstall in town.
Let's head down to Knoxville and talk some Tennessee recruiting, because the Volunteers are bringing in key recruits for an SEC matchup against Arkansas. And the big battle continues to rage for number 2 running back David Gabriel Georges. A return trip to Knoxville. He's been to Ohio State. He's been to Georgia. What's the latest on Gabriel Georges?
Well, I don't know if there's a prospect that Tennessee covets more in 2027 than running back David Gabriel Georges. And as we've seen over the last couple of recruiting cycles, Tennessee's number 1 target on the board. They found a way to get it done on the trail, from guys like David Sanders to Tristan Keys to certainly the quarterbacks, George McIntyre and Faison Brandon. This is a program that can really close elite targets on the trail and beat fellow college football playoff contenders for them. So even though my prediction is currently on Ohio State for David Gabriel Georges, you cannot sleep on the Vols for this elite, fantastic 2027 running back that really looks like he could play for Tennessee and Ohio State and Georgia right now. That's how good he is.
Yeah, and after missing out on Savion Hyder, no question Tennessee going to take a big swing here in 2027. Speaking of 2027s on campus, number 2 linebacker Caden Henderson, Xavier Hassan, number 6 edge KJ Green is going to be there. Who are you keeping an eye on this weekend?
Well, 4-star corner Ace Austin from Ohio. Tennessee was in on him early. He's got as national and offer list as anyone in the class, but the Vols are a program that resonated with him early. They are one of the favorites for Ace Austin coming into the weekend. Joshua Sam Appel is one of the most coveted offensive tackles in SEC country. Georgia and Alabama are in the mix there. Florida State had him to campus last weekend. Tennessee going to try and make a move. How about all-name team receiver Bodie Sparrow from Utah? Tennessee wanting to go back to that state, get another big win. They're excited to have him on campus this weekend. We got some 2026 recruiting still going on for the Vols as well. As they look to add to a top 10 recruiting class, tight end is a position of need. They're hosting Luke Brewer from Iowa. Of course, the Hawkeyes and the Cyclones are in play and have a ton of tight end tradition between the two. But Miami has been working hard on Luke Brewer, and Tennessee would like to make a move this weekend. Tight end, one of the positions of need. Running back, guys like Amari Latimer, they continue to push for, committed to Wisconsin. Amari Latimer was at Ohio State last weekend. Tennessee has been close to getting him on campus. They're going to keep trying to get Amari Latimer on campus. And then pass rusher, that is a spot that Tennessee is definitely still recruiting. And I talked with this morning Chris Carbon, a former Georgia Tech commit that's visiting Florida State this weekend. He says he's going to be at Tennessee soon. And then they've already had Dre Quinn on campus, former Clemson commit. I expect him to get back to Knoxville at some point. Tennessee, definitely one of the front runners for Dre Quinn. Texas is on the gas there. And he was at Ohio State last weekend as well. The Buckeyes are emerging for Dre Quinn as well. So those 3 programs have to be taken serious. But Tennessee certainly one to watch for Dre Quinn as they work to get him back to campus in 2026.
Let's talk Missouri. They are in the midst of a college football run, and Eli Drinkowitz and Mizzou are also, Steve, pushing for a top 25 class. So who will the Tigers have on campus this weekend?
Well, I think it's going to be a big recruiting weekend despite the 11 a.m. kickoff time in Columbia as number 9 Alabama rolls into town. A huge ball game for Missouri and company. They're undefeated. They're ranked in the top 15. Coach Drinkwitz has had this team on the cusp of making the college football playoff. They certainly have a chance to make it this year. And the way they're recruiting, the guys they're in on down the stretch, they have a chance to be in these conversations for years to come. A couple guys that they are trending for right now, 4-star defensive lineman, Oklahoma State commit Taj Overton taking a visit to Columbia this weekend. I like where Mizzou stands there. So does colleague Sam Spiegelman. We have him predicted to Mizzou. Cincinnati cornerback commit Brody Jones visiting this weekend. Missouri's been on him for a while. And a new addition Thursday morning, 4-star defensive lineman out of Alabama, Emmanuel Ruffin. He's committed to Colorado. He posted on X that he will take an official visit to Missouri this weekend as the Tigers push towards a top 25 recruiting class here at the end of the cycle.
So heading into this weekend, Steve, do you have any new predictions for Mizzou?
Yeah, logged 3 predictions for Missouri in the last 24 hours. The biggest one is Rivals 300 offensive tackle Johnny Jones, a former commit to UCLA, visited Missouri a few weeks ago, also took in Mississippi State, has included Tennessee and Penn State amongst his leaders, Florida State and Penn State amongst his leaders. But I like the way it is trending for the Tigers. He had a great visit, loves the way that they run the ball, loves the coaching staff and the winning program and the way they develop players. So I'm in on Missouri for Johnny Jones. Same for Ahmad Billings. He is a 3-sport athlete, 2-sport star out of Abbeville Christian Academy in Alabama. He was on campus last weekend for his official visit for the route over UMass. Missouri is the one to beat there. And then Greg Smith and I have predicted Missouri to flip Bryson Wessel, a defensive lineman, in-state recruit that's committed to Iowa State. He's been in Columbia this fall. We like the way that one's trending for Missouri and company as well. They're also working on Danny Beal, a coveted offensive lineman committed to Arkansas. So there's still a lot of names out there for Missouri. They hosted Florida commit CJ Hester. They're hoping the Gators stumble there. And we'll see who else pops up for Missouri. They're very active in 2026 at the end of the cycle, right as they are really playing well on the field.